Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending today. We'll introduce our first guest speaker, Laura Nelson. She is from our surface industry expert. She was managing director, and she's actually coming from UK. Welcome. Okay, our second panelist, Emmanuel. He is from our pharmaceutical industry expert, and he is the regional supply networks for Johnson. It's a pharmaceutical company for Johnson & Johnson. Welcome, Emmanuel. Our third speaker, Shadi Al-Safati. He is from our automotive industry expert, and he is the executive director for operational at standards. Welcome, Shadi. Okay, our final expert, Enrico, our continual improvement expert. He is the CEO for GMC Group Limited. Thank you very much. Okay, so operational excellence, we can simply say that our performance today is better than yesterday. So since we have now experienced people from different industries, they are waiting more than 100 years of experience from pharmaceuticals, from automotive industry, from manufacturing and service. So we are going to share with you a very good practice and lesson learned that they have learned from being in a very famous companies all over the world. So we can gain the experience and apply it in our fields. Let me start first with Laura, the service industry expert. We normally say safety first. And in terms of taking this concept or considering the safety regulations and safety standards, how can operational excellence can help you to achieve this and use it as a compass?
Yeah. Khan Sharif. So RTITB, the service company that I work in, focuses on saving lives in workplace transport. And we do that by improving the standard of training. Now that improvement obviously lends itself to operational excellence. And we work with many companies, multinational small businesses across oil and gas, logistics, aviation. And it's really, we don't work with companies who are looking to tick a box. We work with companies who are looking to be the best. And that means we have to be the best too. We have to deliver. And so there was an American coach and mentor, and she said that your values will be your compass and they will guide you in the right direction. And that's absolutely true for us. So everything for us starts with our values. So our values are commitment, confidence, and challenge. So we try to challenge the way we've always done things. We try to challenge the way industries have always done things in order to deliver excellence for them. And what we find is that in our very successful customers and our partners is that actually safety is not a separate consideration. There's not a safety program and an operational excellence program. Safety is a core element of operational excellence. They integrate it completely into what they do. And they recognise that operations that are run well have less incidents because people follow the rules, people want to maintain the equipment well, and so that leads to less injuries, less downtime. And what they do well as well is they don't just measure incidents once they've happened, a lagging indicator, they don't do that. What they do is look at near-miss data because that's a leading indicator that there's a problem with the management system. And so that gives them an idea that there's a problem that they need to solve, that there's an improvement to be made. And Stephen Covey, who wrote the Highly Effective Habits book, he kind of summarised it really well and said that if you put good people in bad systems, you will only get bad results.
Yeah, thank you very much for this very insightful talks about safety standards and compliance regulations. We'll come back to you for another extended discussions for the regulations. Now we'll move to another very critical subject. We know like we call that change is the only constant that we have in this world. So the importance of a change management in terms of achieving right first time and achieving the right operational excellence. From your background, Emmanuel, in the pharmaceutical industries, what are the best practices and lessons learned that you had?
Yeah, thank you for this very interesting question. The role of change management is to transition in the most effective way from the current process to the new improved ones. By managing change, you are more likely to achieve the project goals and then to deliver also to generate sustainable results. In the pharmaceutical manufacturing environment, change management is extremely critical because it is highly regulated environment. And so all the employees need to be trained and be adhering to the GMP manufacturing standards, because this is to ensure high level of quality and compliance to our patients, which are ultimately our final customers. In my experience, there are 2 points which are highly relevant when developing a change management plan. A strong focus on quick wins in the short term and long-term sustainability. In the short term, you need to identify and onboard the early adopters through delivering quick wins initiatives, because quick wins are powerful to build the momentum and to increase the adoption rate in the short term. And I personally like very much the equation that was introduced by General Electric, saying that effectiveness equals quality times acceptance. And it means that the effectiveness of your operational excellence project is the product of the quality of your solution and the acceptance level. It means that you might have the perfect solution, resolving 100% of your problem statement, but if only 10% of your organization is then using that solution, then your project is not successful. On the contrary, you might go for a less optimal solution, but which is easier to be deployed and will be accepted by a broad audience or the majority of your team or your organization. Then you will get way better results. In the long term, the key question is how do we ensure that our improvement will be sustained over time? Very often the focus is on the implementation, but the project does not finish with the go-live date, right? The monitoring, my experience, is often underestimated. And so it's important to build process metrics, to design process metrics, the correlated governance, and work routines. For instance, pharmaceutical supply chain is a global supply chain where different functions are collaborating virtually in a remote environment, right? And so building, for instance, weekly cycles where activities are defined for each day of the week, who does what and when, is a simple but effective way to streamline a transactional process execution and to synchronize all the people from different functions that are located maybe around the globe. While a governance is key to monitor process performances and to detect derailing trends, so to plan for the mitigation actions in a proactive way. And with regards to process metrics, there is a famous statement which I think summarizes very well the importance of metrics, which says, you can't improve what you don't measure. And I couldn't agree more.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. That's very insightful. From the pharmaceutical industries, moving to the automotive industry, Shadi. You have a long journey in General Motors, and you have applied lots of very interesting programs. Can you share with us like some of the best practices and your own experience in terms of how to sustain and make a right operation excellence?
Sure, Sharif. The first, I need to congratulate Saudi Arabia for the significant improvement of their strategy in the automotive industry. Every day we witness one step in Saudi Arabia that in the near future we believe that we can see Saudi Arabia as one of the key players in the automotive industry, not in the region but as a global player. To all organizations, through my 25 years of experience in operation excellence, the real challenge for organization is to sustain the result of operation excellence project. So many projects can achieve excellence and achieve the required result, but on short term. So I believe that the real challenge, if you talk about achieving here or performing the operation excellence in Saudi Arabia, I think the real challenge that we will face here is to sustain the result. Sustain the result to or through the product life cycle. So I would like to share with you one exercise or one best practice that we did in General Motors, and it's really working well. So at the end of every project, we have important question. Can we sustain this performance for a long time or through the whole life cycle of the product? We try to put some target and some saving target for the whole life cycle of the product, like 5 years. We try to see what document need to be changed. If there is some major change as a result of this operation excellence project, we need to ensure that we update the standard operation process. We update all the required process flow. As my colleague mentioned, the measurement also is very important. Sometimes we need to change the KPIs that we are looking for. I always say, and we always think that there is some expensive word on the business. We always do it this way. This is the most 6 expensive word on the business. So we need to do in a different way. So if this needs us to change the dashboard or our meeting structure or our team structure, we need to ensure that we change all this. This first part. The second part also, which is important, we see several projects is repeated. So I work as Operation Excellence Master. So many times I receive the same project again in different site or in different business unit. So one of the practice that General Motors is doing to have what they call BUGM or best practice under GM. They have database. If there is some significant best practice within the project, they add on the database of there is some lesson learned important. They put on the databases, web-based or SharePoint. So whenever we have some issue in the operation, before we go through long process for operation excellence project, we go through this database to see what is the best practice, what we can replicate. This is very important because resources mean money, so we need to optimize the resource management. So this is the best practice I would like to share today, Sharif.
Thank you, Shadi. It's really very important after you achieve like the excellence to sustain it, and you have given really very good examples. Now we'll move to Enrico, our most expert. You have done lots of we call it critical projects and surveyed the big names and organizations. In terms of your expertise as a continual improvement expert, we normally say like there is no horizontal line, there is always the way up, because if you don't actually continually improve, you are automatically declining in the opposite side. So the only way actually to still survive in the business is to continually improve. So if you can share with us your experience in terms of applying such kind of standards and practices for continual improvement in order to sustain the success that's been achieved.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So actually, there is no business excellence without operational excellence. And there is no operational excellence without continuous process improvement, which is very, very important. Continuous process improvement, it should be a mindset in an organization, also to ensure that the business success of the organization. Now, to do this, you need a lot of elements to be integrated into your organization and also in your mindset, such leadership commitment and support. It's very, very important. You need as well to have a customer-centric organization. Indeed, in the very beginning, you need to have a baseline. How you do the baseline in terms of continuous process improvement is to have a process maturity assessment. Without this, you won't do anything after that. Then, as well, it's very, very important, and to ensure that each single process has got a responsible process owner and an accountable process sponsor. Let's consider the sheep. Let's consider process like a sheep, and the process owner like a captain, and the process sponsor like the owner of the ship. Now, if you have a ship with one captain, it will go. But if it's with more captains, it will sink. And if there is no captain, it will also sink. And if the ship owner is not committed and is not supporting the captain, also with financial resources, the ship will not move even one single marine mile. So this is also very, very important. As well, as mentioned by Emanuele, data-driven data-driven decision-making, it's very, very important. You cannot just wake up in the morning and say, okay, let's do this just because you're thinking, or maybe you have fighted with someone. It's very, very important that data-driven decision-making should be always there. And this can be done thanks to developing a number of KPI performance indicator in each single process, but also in each single process activity, to ensure that the output of the process are well measured, well analyzed, and controlled, but also improved. Because at the end, continued process improvement is a reiterative activity. As well, it's very, very important to me to ensure that the process should not be something just not something in the air. You need to always to think holistically that the process should be end-to-end and should be possibly cross-functional. Now, I've seen along the years that one big challenge is that organizations are working by silo. And this is really bringing a lot of problems on the organization. And think about the organization. There is any organization is there. For all, if we are talking about a profit organization, is because there is a customer. If you have a non-profit organization, you should think about the customer. So the customer-centric should be customer-centric organization should be there, and you should try the very best to break the silos walls. As well, it's very, very important to ensure that you engage and empower your people. In my experience, before I start any process improvement project, to me it's very, very important to know my people, to know who are the stakeholders, who is the core team. And for all, it's very important to work on team development and as well on change management, because at the end, everyone has a different culture, different background, and it's very, very important that the team is working together. So without this, change management and people and team improvement, in team building, it's also very important. Now, one last thing is that in this time, it's very, very important to be agile and to adapt to changes. And today, changes are really very much, so you need to do this.
Thank you.
One last thing. One last thing is if you want to really be customer-focused and centric, deliver what you promised. If you don't do it, won't achieving anything.
Yeah, thank you, Enrico.
Thank you.
Yeah, so coming back for like challenges for regulatory compliance. You were heading and the managing directors for a company for 8 years, and definitely you have faced lots of challenges in terms of regulatory compliance. So can you share with us some of the best practices that helped you to have your operational excellence?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we don't focus solely on regulatory compliance. What we do is we focus on the standardization of processes within our business, but also within our customers' businesses, so we help them standardize. We focus on operational excellence and we focus on safety, because what we find is that generally regulations aren't written to catch us out, they are written to achieve safety most often. So if you focus on the safety elements, on improvements, on standardization, you will naturally achieve compliance. And the way that we focus on safety and the way we apply that for our 700 plus customers is that we use a 5-step methodology. So it's an end-to-end process. We start by looking at the gaps, identify the issues they have, do that analysis, then develop relevant training that makes a difference. So not training for training's sake, but actually engaging training that targets the issues that have been identified. What we also make sure is that the trainer that we use to fill those gaps is confident. So lots of people talk about competence, but actually you need confidence to be a great trainer. You need to know your subject. You need to inspire people to follow what you're training out. And then we use technology and systems to capture data, to capture compliance records, and to also identify future risk and suggest interventions. So things around coaching, mentoring, e-learning, that kind of thing. But again, identifying where the risk is, not training for training's sake. And then the most important step, in my view and in my experience, and I think Shadi touched on this as well, is that that's all great, but it's a one-off thing. What you've got to do is get that consistency in there. And the way that you do that is through that continuous improvement, through revisiting those subjects in different ways, using events and incidents as learning experiences and learning opportunities. And that's really crucial to deliver that culture change. And really only with culture change do you kind of achieve that safety and therefore compliance. And just as an example of how powerful it can be, the impact it can have, we have a customer who has multiple sites across the UK and Europe. They've got about 1.6 million square feet of logistics capacity, 120 hectares of manufacturing, and they followed this methodology and they really bought into it and they really believed in it. They didn't focus on compliance, they focus on people and safety. And the outcome of that for their business was an 80% reduction in reportable injury frequency rate, which is a huge achievement. But most importantly, I felt, was that they got a 50% reduction in injury severity, which when you're a people-focused business is huge. And putting your people at your heart does really make a difference. So yeah, they got compliant because they cared about safety.
Thank you. I like the train for the sake of the training. So it's really very interesting. Sometimes some companies, they don't really focus about the trainings and link it with the competency gap and making the proper training needs analysis in order to have the right trainings and deliver it to the right people.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Emmanuel, since you have more than 2 decades in supply chain management and your focus was in Middle East and lots of other countries, normally the 8 common wastes are always a challenge. So from your experience, which one of the 8 common wastes are actually considered as really challenging for you from your experience?
Yeah. Well, this is a topic that is very close to my heart, because I would say that not only in the supply chain transactional environment, but in general, avoiding the waste of the talent of our people should be the priority of people leaders. Because you don't want to ask the best talent in your organization to waste their time in non-value-added activities. such as collecting data, consolidating data in Excel, and then building reports, or maybe following up non-efficient processes. And I think that we as operational excellence professionals should drive this cultural transformation, because operational excellence implies a mindset shift supported by continuous learning. And a very actual example is we live in the digital transformation. So we learn and we have to learn every day new tools. So digital agility, digital dexterity has become a critical capability for our people. Sharing some example, in the pharmaceutical supply chain, we are exploring these emerging technologies. For instance, how can we leverage the artificial intelligence and robotic automation to streamline transactional processes, so to reduce workload for the people, or the usage of machine learning in the demand sensing space, or for instance, building digital twins of your physical supply chain so that you can run what-if scenarios, but you can also support real-time monitoring and also real-time batch release. However, at the end, in my view, it's all about people. And the questions that the people leaders should ask themselves are you acting as a coach or as a micromanager? How do you engage your team to unleash their full potential? How do you engage your team to create an inclusive environment where everyone feels free to express their innovative ideas and take controlled risk? And I would like to conclude quoting Steve Jobs, who said, "It makes no sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do." And this is my people leadership philosophy.
Thank you, Manuel. Really very, very nice, especially the one that you said that there is a big difference between coaching and micromanagement. That's actually one of the, we could call it one of the challenges in the management for the current century that we have. Moving to Chadi. Chadi, you were in business and you have a mix between operational excellence and also strategic experience for organization management and development. You know that competency and the market is very competitive nowadays. How we can actually utilize our best practices in operational excellence to stay competitive in the market, in the automobile industry?
Thank you, Sharif. You remind me of a very interesting quote for Jack Walsh, the CEO of General Electric and the father of Operation Excellence and Six Sigma. He say, if you don't have competitive advantage, don't compete. And that's all about Operation Excellence. A high-level definition of Operation Excellence is continuous improvement to achieve sustainable competitive advantage. So benchmarking is very critical as one of the main principles of Operation Excellence. So the benchmarking here, I talk about both internal benchmarking and external benchmarking, where we can benchmark within the organization in different product line, different country, different division, but also through external benchmarking with the competition. So this is very important. And I would like to share one best practice from Stellantis, working with diversified product, Fiat, Chrysler, and Jeep. So they have budget every year for benchmarking. So benchmarking is not like personal initiative, it's standard process. So every month they rent some new car and they make audit for the car, for the competition. Sometimes they bring 3 or 4 units from the same product to see the variation. So this will tell you a lot about the variation in the process of your company and the competition. So this is really very valuable. And also if working in the service sector, like after sales service, they have like mystery shopper, go to the service station, try to ask some information, have some conflict with the employee to try to measure and evaluate the customer service and the operation excellence. So they try to do it in the service sector and in the manufacturing sector. So this benchmarking, how I see it as an eye-opener. So management don't know what they don't know. But when they start to have this benchmarking, so they really know the performance gap. And this performance gap start to be an input for operation excellence project. So work in operation excellence project to close this gap. So I encourage the audience, if they don't go through this benchmark process, they need to start this benchmark process because it's really valuable. We are not working alone. We are working with the competition. Maybe are doing good, but sometimes the competition are doing better. So we need to learn from the competitor. This really, really valuable through implementing this benchmark for several years. It's really eye-opener for me and for the management. That's it.
Thank you very much. Really very important information. And coming back to Enrico, normally, as it was said, that competency nowadays, some of people, they say that any new innovations, any new technologies are easily to be adopted by another company to another. But the only thing that you can't actually copy is the culture, because it's been built in years, it's been transferred from one generation to another generations. So building a quality culture inside organizations, that's one of the key items that we need to address. And the other part, which you dealt with lots of customers here and there, achieving customer satisfactions is really sometimes challenging. How you can utilize your operational excellence and your own experience to achieve these both items?
I'll try in my little. So employees actually are the best asset an organization can have. And if they are well coached, empowered, and engaged, they can really drive the business excellence. Now, in many organizations, unfortunately, there is still the blame game where pointing the employee as responsible for process wastes and defects, while this is not the true point. Actually, the process wastes and process defects are not at all related to a person. And this culture is really damaging the company culture, but also the performances and the business. Now, while working on an oil and gas Six Sigma project some years ago, which was having about 44 million euro of employed capital, while I was developing the team, there was one of the core team member was very resistant because there was a blame game in his organization. So what I told him, wait until we measure the problems, and then you will see that there is something else and you are not the one responsible for those issues on over spending of money. Now, what happened at the end of the, I'm normally when I'm managing a continuous process improvement, I'm using the DMAIC procedure. And in the measurement procedure, it was very magic to have this person, this individual, to understand that it was not him to have caused the capital employed so big, and he became actually the driver of the project success. We managed within 6 months to release more than 26 million euros, and as well to reorganize and revamp in full and the continuous, the entire end-to-end process, supply chain process. This is very, very important to change this type of culture. As well, it's very important that you are, as an organization, not afraid to ask for problems. I mean, to ask employees to bring bad news. And this is very, very important, even better than asking for solutions. And look at challenges as opportunities for improvement. And this is a very, very important thing. Now, you were asking about what about the customer satisfaction. Indeed, this is what I've just said is very, very important. It's a very important element to ensure customer satisfaction. Now, how to improve customer satisfaction then? As I said before, always deliver what you promise. And as Deming has said some time ago, said, a dissatisfied customer is not complaining, he is switching. So, and this is a very bad thing for organization.
Yes. Thank you, Enrico. So now we'll just have final thoughts, like everyone in less than a minute. If you can share with us something that maybe we didn't touch it in terms of best practices or lesson learned from the global market. Starting with you, Laura.
Yeah, I think we have touched on it, but I do think, I think the people element and the importance of culture, that for me is the biggest thing that can make or break any business. And operational excellence has to be about the people. They have to buy into it. They have to be part of that journey, and they have to contribute, and they have to feel that it matters to them too, and it's about them being excellent as well as the business. So they need to feel that empowerment and that investment, I think.
Yes, thank you. Manuel?
Yeah, building on what Laura just said, I think that operational excellence project can be seen as two ways. There must be top-down sponsorship, otherwise the project will not fly. At the same time, there should be bottom-up engagement, and so you need to engage the team, and also you need to collect their feedback, right? Because the feedback of the people who are on the shop floor, who are actually experiencing the process, who are suffering the pain points of the process, is critical. So you should not start from the solution, but you first understand the problem, bottom up, and then you move to the implementation phase.
Very, very, very insightful. Thank you. Shadi?
So one word I think is very crucial for operation excellence is culture. Culture is very important. Early in my career, I ignore the human side and the culture, but now I understand the value of operation excellence culture. Many organizations fail. They have very strong operation excellence strategy, but they ignore the human side. So if now we start working operation excellence in Saudi Arabia, it can be different than how we implement in Italy, how we implement in UK, because the culture is different. Please always remember a very important quote for Peter Drucker. He always say, culture eats strategy on the breakfast. So if you have very good strategy for operation excellence, you don't have this operation excellence culture, of course you will fail. So let's work on the human side of operation excellence.
Thank you, very interesting.
So my last takeaway is, and advice is, do not manage separately processes and ISO international standards. Try to do your very best to integrate all the international standards requirements that are applicable to your organization within each single process activity, including, but not limited to, ISO 18404. The ISO 18404 is actually the continuous process improvement international standard developed by the Royal Statistical Society of London. I will be more than happy to offline to support you on this.
Yeah, thank you very much, Enrico. Okay, thanks for this very, very really informative talks and sharing experience and lesson learned. Really, we are almost finished our times, and we'd like to thank you all, and thank you all for attending our sessions. We actually moved from different industries to another industries. We shared experience, and maybe you noticed that there are very common areas between all the industries, and there is always, we call it, room for improvement. ending up by the standard that was mentioned, 18404. It's one of the standards for continual improvement. Maybe not everybody were aware about it. And sharing about very insightful talks from the supply chains. Thank you, Emmanuel. And also from automotive. Thank you very much, Shadi. That's really were very interesting. And ending up by the surface sectors. And Laura, it's really very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, speakers. And please stay with us to take a group picture. And thank you for the great session and exchanging valuable information. Please للتكريم يتفضل الأستاذ منصور الزنيدي نائب المحافظ لاستمرارية الأعمال وإدارة المخاطر، فليتفضل مشكوراً. Thank you, speakers. شكراً لكم السادة الحضور بهذا